All right. I believe we're good to go and live and running here. One thing I should really do is kind of have an intro, maybe some music. I've been thinking about that a lot. Uh, but also maybe not. Maybe it's a waste of time. Okay, so the last time where we left off was we had gotten our form submitting in a fairly robust manner. On each submit, we get this await happening, and when that's happening, the form button is disabled, so you can't submit while you have your async function running. It might be doing some database work, it might be connecting to some APIs, or whatever the case may be. And we have this wait. We left with some problems. There's some displacement here in the HTML, which I don't like and I want to fix. And then there's a couple of paths we can investigate that I wanted to get into the last time. So we finished the form with auto blocking on submission. One thing I want to get into maybe first is styling the buttons, maybe having different sizes of buttons built into the component so that we can say, okay, I want like a small button here, I want a excess button here. I use base for normal because that's Tailwind's notation. We might have a large one and might follow that path. And then we might even add different kinds of buttons like primary and secondary and outline and so forth. And then here's something I don't really want to do actually, like which is test out form data, because I have a strong sense that I'm really gonna just use vValidate. I've used it before. It has the functionality that I need for the most part, and I'm gonna make more progress and faster if I just start messing about with vValidate, which probably means I should do form data, right? So the whole point of this is to mess about and discover things and find things out. So yeah, so let me get into why this displacement is happening in the first place. And let's get into the random button. What we're doing here with the MDI loading bit is we have in the button, when we submit, it turns into an SVG. And these SVGs by default are blocks. They're not inline, they're pure blocks. And so I believe if I make this inline, for example, and submit, my expectation is that it should be fine. And it isn't. Did I not save? I did save. Okay, so that thwarts my expectations. Let me play around with this a little bit. If I make it an inline block, I really expect this to not do this. But let's take a look. Let's take a deeper look. You know what? One thing I want to do is, I was thinking of decreasing the count here, so this would be faster. But I actually do want it to take some time so I can debug. SVG, I got my width and height definitions. I wonder if those... Okay, so you know what? I mean, what am I doing? I could just go into the button and make this pop up by default, so I have that displacement automatically. And now I can mess about here. So up here I have Inline Flex, Flex Row, items centered. Okay, that looks legit. And here I've made this an inline block. I have a height and a width, and I made spin, so it's fairly normal. And then I've made this a block. So does that mean... I don't know if I don't know if this was the right thing to do. So that doesn't change anything. So I have inline Inline Flex. Okay, let's just take a look at deeper at the setup here. Okay, got my form here. It's got this pre and then these inputs. Okay, that's interesting. Let me actually get rid of that pre. Because what is that doing? Not much. Sorry, every time I see one of these, I gotta take a look. Okay, so I just removed that. So let's just get rid of that. Which obviously does nothing to the form. It's just, I just want few elements in there so I can debug more clearly. So I got my form here, and I have an input, and I have a fairly good idea that this input is, I believe, inline. I got my buttons, which is inline flex. I don't want to keep it inline flex. I don't think that that would make a difference, but it might. Again, I've been wrong here. And that does make a difference. Okay, so you know what? I have no idea what I'm doing. All right, so if I remove the inline flexness here, what if I get rid of this? Okay, so that does have a little jump there. So it's a combination, I guess, of this being flex, the button itself being an inline flex, and this being a block. So if I say block here, it remains. If I make this an inline block, it aligns properly. And I guess I want to make this an inline block as well. Okay, so now if I come back here and do this, and I submit, that's, everything is copacetic in its place, and we're good to go. I'm not too thrilled with that. I'm going to spend maybe another few minutes to figure out why inline flex doesn't work here. So let's make this back into this. So if I made this inline, that works. If I made this inline flex, that immediately does not work. I guess is the expectation. Is there a resetting here of items? Because if I say items center, well, that doesn't control the outer aspect. It only controls the inner stuff. Right, so I don't expect anything here to make a difference. If I made this flex, it would just be a block, so it would just transfer over here. Although now, because it is a block, everything is cool. Okay, just a few more minutes. I guess if my form was a flex, everything would be fine. Let me just test that out, though I shouldn't have to, right? For example, in this row, I say, okay, flex at item center. That does nothing. No, that hasn't been saved. Is my hot update not working? Because I don't see that in the form. So if I refresh, maybe I will. Okay, so now, yeah, now we're there. And this is inline flex, so these items are centered, obviously, because now I've made this a bit different. It's not taking the properties of what was there before, so it's kind of just aligned here. And again, for whatever reason, the auto update is not working, which is weird. So let me just restart the server just to make sure. And now, for example, if I do undo these bits here and save, well, that it would remain the same, wouldn't it? I made this a flex. Yeah, it's just not updating. That is supremely annoying. I'm like, am I comfortable with this? Am I comfortable with this being the case where the container, it's the container's problem? Is alignment the container's problem? Especially when I'm doing, because I'm doing something here. Let me try one more thing, which is, for example, if I legitimately was to put this inside a the div here and give this a class as well. Well, let's see what happens when I don't first, right? So that all works fine. So let me undo this flex business here. And that seems to be working fine. I don't know that I want to give this a div. But now I have an inline button. These are inline blocks, and this is just a regular div. Is that right? Let's take a look. Yeah, so this is just a regular div, and things are aligned. I don't have flex on the outer form, which I was trying to avoid because I don't want to tell the parent how to, like, regular things should work regularly. We can make this an inline block as well, and let's see what happens here. I'm okay with this. Okay. I am okay with this. So I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to make this maybe 3, so it happens much faster. Yep, that's good. And then yeah, let's do a few things. I'm not thrilled with the icon I chose. And so I want to adjust that. I want to adjust the colors, maybe style the buttons so they're proper buttons. And then take it from there. So, but let me just quickly commit. Okay, here I just got rid of the pre, and here I'm retaining the inline flex. It is flex row by default, so I don't have to indicate anything. And then I've added a div here. Yeah, I'm not too sure if I'm thrilled about that. And I want to play a bit around with this to see if. So really just wanted a container. It really just wanted a container. And I don't know why. So I'm just going to leave this as spans inside a button. That seems more appropriate, if you will. And then let's get that committed. Okay. Okay, I'm seeing this, and I gotta, every time I see these errors, I gotta check them out for type ref, but if it's not assignable to. Okay, so that means the inject, I guess the inject knows that it might be undefined. And so I will have to define this appropriately, which triggers this, which means I can say this, and that's fine because it's a falsy value. And we'll commit that whenever the next commit happens. Okay, so now styling buttons. Yeah, I'm not thrilled with the icons, and we're using iconify icon sets. And here we can search them. So last time I looked for loaders, and we got these, and I think I picked one of these. But if we search for spinner, it turns out that we find better ones, and I really like this one over here, GT Spinner. which I believe I can say GG spinner here. And that red doesn't make sense, so I'm just going to make that gray. And we have something that's a bit nicer and more visually pleasing. A few ways we can go here. We can style up the buttons. We can, yeah, we could probably style up the buttons. I don't want borders, so I'm just going to get rid of that. We want a color change on hover. You know, for my purposes here, I want to pretend that I have a primary color that I'm dealing with. So Tailwind custom colors. And all I want to do is pick one of these as my primary color, but also set it to primary. So the classes that I'm applying is like BG primary or text primary instead of text blue or what have you. So, and I believe there's a way to reference the existing colors via JavaScript. So colors dot. Okay, great. And let's import or require colors. And then extend in this manner. So I want to extend, I don't want to replace. I can say extend colors and then take a primary and secondary, pick a primary and secondary, and then go from there. So I'm going to say primary colors dot. It's not, well, I guess there might be more. There might be a scroll here. Nope. No, it's not giving me what I thought. I would, okay, let me go with purple. And secondary can be, let's see. I don't know. Secondary button. What would that look like? Primary is, let's go with maybe blue and, yeah, I don't know. I don't understand colors. Let me just go sky. And if that's a bad decision, nobody will care because we can modify it later. So now I can come back here and give this a primary. And is that really primary 700? This is my primary color? It's probably no color at all. Maybe I have to restart. Yeah, I don't think that's any color at all. Fantastic. I was hoping for like a smooth thing here that we could just, get working, but let's see. So there's a few things are possible here. So, I mean, I don't see primary here, and I would have expected to, which means that it isn't applying, and maybe my Tailwind configuration isn't correct. So let me try and fix that. So I'm extending, I gotta extend colors. That makes sense. And so the refresh worked. I didn't have to restart the server, which I didn't think I should have had to, and that's good. Okay, so great, that's my primary button. Maybe I can make that a bit lighter. I'll just mess about with the colors a little bit. Okay, that seems to, let me make it pretty dark. Okay, let's go with the 7. And then for disableness, I liked the opacity 50 thing that we had going. Opacity 50. Because this is, that seems like it's definitely up there. And Tailwind cursor. Oh, wow. Okay, that's nice. They'll show you what that looks like in your browser. And I want show all classes. I want not allowed. Cool. Yeah, okay. They made them... oh, this is pretty cool. Okay. So that's fairly clear that you can't mess with this button. And when this is disabled, we get kind of the same effect. Although I don't love this anymore, and that gray really doesn't show when that's happening. So I can have a class of running, perhaps. When is running, and then style this a bit separately. So I don't want, so I guess I have to say opacity 100 because I need to override it. Cursor not allowed is correct, so maybe I don't have to say that because we'll be cascading. Yeah, so now that doesn't happen. And let's change the color of the spinner to something much lighter because we have a darker background. Okay. Let's make it super light. Let's not mess about. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that as a default thing. And then let's see if I can... so these buttons are regular size, so that's text base. Okay. Just trying to figure out here how I want to play this, because I can say this and just pass it an array as well, and the array of classes will apply. I can pass it a string. Because if it's running, I want it to show. But I believe that it'll take the first truthy value here. I'm curious. I'm actually not sure what the... So view 3 dynamic class. And let's see how those style bindings work. So yeah, we got that good. Those are active. So accordingly, if class will become static, active, and danger. Okay, so that's cool. This means that it doesn't just take the first one, it takes everyone that's true. So that's good. Okay, I can make the whole thing reactive if I wanted to. That's cool. Yeah, I can compute it. I can do all of these things. I wonder if there's a way to mix like just regular... Okay, so an array like this. Okay, so that's how we would expect to do it. Say if I had just an array of items, they want me to do this in order to make it switchable. That's really nice. That's amazing. I didn't know this bit. Okay. Cool, that's all I wanted to know. That means I can come down here with my class and just make this an array, and I can just say something like button classes here, and I can define button classes up here based on probably make it a computed property. And this will have some reactive values based on the properties, based on the props that are passed in. But for now, I will do this as well. And yeah, just give it a bunch of styles for now. And then here, based on the sizes, we might return different classes. So I'm going to probably copy some of these. Back over here. And if I save this, I should still see my padding. And now maybe I'll button sizes, make this a thing here and have XS. And the button options will be here, SM, and base. And I can have certain properties. So this, I guess, would be base. Okay, and here I can say button sizes. Ugh. I really have to disable that autocomplete. Button sizes, and in this case, I'm going to say base for now, and just hard code it. And then in a second, we'll grab it from the props. So on props again, and let's just have a size, make that optional, and that is XS, SM, and base. And what we'll do is we'll also have a computed property just for size for ourselves here, where we'll return props.size or base as a default. And maybe there's a better way of getting a default from the props, which I don't know. Probably somewhere here. Maybe passing it options here, maybe. But I'm not too concerned about getting in there, so. And we'll just take the size from there. And what I'll do is I'll have, I guess, this button smaller than this, and we can play around. We can say small. I'll have them all. Why not? Base and extra small. XS. SM. And base. Yeah, that's good. I don't want these to be disabled just so I get a proper feel of the buttons. And so there's a few things here. I guess these are styles based on the sizes. So I could probably go text base here and be a bit more explicit. And let's do text SM, text XS. One of the things I don't want to do, for example, is this, and have it sized to a value type thing. And that's because of Tailwind, it is parsing these files to extract things that look like Tailwind classes in order to generate them. Previous versions in order to purge them or not purge them. So in this case, let's just do this. So now we are getting smaller sizes. Let's change the padding up a little bit based on how small can I go here. Okay, that's pretty small. And then can I? Yeah, okay, that's fine. Can I do? maybe 1.5 and 2.5 here. All right, so I got extra small, small and base, and now we can probably, because these, look more like, I mean, they don't look like buttons to me. And maybe we can do a bit more styling here. Let's get maybe oh, I can pick the shadow colors. Okay, cool. Let's get, MD might be too much. Still not bad. Shadow SM. I think that works for me too. I might just keep it MD for now and then change it up later. So we got a shadow. What other things am I expecting on my buttons? Maybe I can add more explicit focus. Okay, so I'll just keep that in mind. And then hover, of course. BG primary, maybe let's go down to 500 and see how that feels. It feels like too much, so feels better. Yeah, I like that. The transition is happening as I do it, like it's transitioning colors. It's not just when I submit. Okay, so now we're sort of, I guess, developing a component library where we have different kinds of buttons, different padding on them, different sizes. That's pretty nice. Yeah, let me see what I can do on focus. I believe I can add a ring here of some color. Let's go with 500 and let's see how that turns out. I wonder if there's a way to... Actually, I don't even realize whether that focus is being properly applied. So let me see if I can do this. How can I get this to go back on the side? Okay, well, that's fine. Primary is being applied now. And okay, yeah, I could probably add, okay, what am I doing? There we go. Focus. Oh, these are just the classes. So it's not the classes I want to toggle, it's this. That's barely noticeable. So let me see what, okay, so there are widths. Ring 2, ring 4, ring offset, which probably creates a space. So let's get some offset in there. On focus, I just don't want that by default. Let's see how we're looking here. I'm not... Like, I don't trust that that's actually being applied. Ring primary 500, ring offset 2. Let's also add like a ring focus, ring 4 maybe, like let's be super explicit on. Okay, that's, okay. That is clearly being applied. That's nice. Let's make that a bit thinner. All right, that's really what the effect that I wanted was, something that better indicated that the button is in focus. I'm just playing around to see if there's like a nice little fit there. And that's good enough for me. So we've styled some basic buttons. We've given them hovers. We've given them focuses. We've given them shadows so they look a bit more like buttons. And I'm fairly happy with that. So let's commit. Okay, lots of changes here. Okay, I just changed spinner. I added those extra buttons as... and here I'm just adding button sizes. I have these computer properties. I have a props. And the running no longer... Like, the opacity doesn't change when we run it. Because one change is already happening. I'm already getting that icon coming in. I don't need like 2 or 3 different things. Maybe. And then we added a primary and secondary, so our classes aren't hard-coded in terms of the color. Okay, that wasn't too bad. One thing I do want to play around with, just for fun, is I don't like that alignment change. So for example, if I click, it changes, and it's changing the width. And I had done some Googling, and there wasn't anything great, I guess CSS-wise, that I found that allowed me to maintain that width. So I suppose what I'll do is I'll store the width as that is running value is changing, and then maintain that if the value is there. So I'm gonna have a CSS class, or maybe just even hard-code a style. We'll see. Okay, let me just make this smaller because we can see everything here. And maybe pull this a bit back so there's enough there. Okay. Submit. So let me again take a look here at how watch effect and watch work. So I'm thinking I have a watch on maybe these, and I manually set is running instead of is running being computed. Is running will be set, and that way I can detect whether there's a toggle happening, or I could just try straight up watch on is running. And see how this nets out. And I wonder whether watch will give me I think this is going to be new value. And let's see if I get those values as that's happening. And if it does, then great. New value, old value. I could just look up the docs, but you know, we'll do this for now. I'm disappointed that I don't have the option here to import automatically. Okay. It still doesn't like this. No overload matches this call. So it is expecting something, but it doesn't want me to type it. So I won't. Because it knows. It already knows because I passed it is running. So it's already pre-typed. And the reason this was underlined before is because I had an imported watch. Great. That makes a lot more sense. So now I can get into my console. So the current value is true. The old value is false. So maybe I can say if, let's be explicit, if old value is equal to false and new value. Let's not be explicit. If not, old value and new value, then I want a ref and const width ref this, and this can be let's make that 0 for now. And then I can say else. In here I want to reset the width to 0. And here I want to get the width of the button as it is. You know, button width, we'll say. And I will have to Google up my pure JavaScript to see how I can get that button width. So what I'll do is I'll have a button ref, and we'll add a ref to the button. And that will allow me to get access to the straight up JavaScript button as it is. And then actually maybe I can discover it, and then if I don't find it immediately, or if I don't find it soon enough, I'll go ahead and start digging. So if I submit, all right, it doesn't like a few things here. Let's take a look. So I am getting my ref, but it doesn't like assignment to F course. What am I doing? Okay, that makes it's much better. So I am getting my button ref raw value, and I wonder whether I can just access the button straight up. So let me inspect this and not that. I want this button. Okay, temp1 dot. I believe is either going to be client width or offset width. And I'm going to use offset width here. I don't know why, but I will. And I wonder if I can simply say button ref dot. But I might have, yeah, I think I might have to do button ref dot value dot offset width. And let me just output that somewhere. So maybe in the button itself, right? I can say whoops. Width. And these widths are 0 because these aren't submits, so when I click on them, nothing happens. And I wonder if this is 93 makes sense because I added the 0, so it's not 75 anymore. It's 93, which means I have a width. And for now, maybe I can be very dirty here and have just style width. Or I could just add it in here. So do something like this. I'm going to delete what's in here, paste it here, and then just return classes. And now I can get into some if businesses. And I want to say here, if there is a width, then push some width classes in here. And maybe I can do this. Width dot value. And now when I submit, I really wanted the width to be maintained. Because if there is a width, my expectation was that I would have this W dash class applying. It doesn't seem like that's the case, so let's start digging in. Okay, so there's a 0px if width dot value, so not just if width. Got bit by the value bug again. I mean, it's not a bug, it's my fault. And now I don't see value. When I click, I should see 93, but I'm not seeing the width being maintained here, right? Is this 93? That doesn't make sense. That's smaller than the submit. Let me get rid of the width from the button. And now there is some value, which I'll see applied. Should be 75, I think. And definitely that width is not being maintained. So that means that W dash 75, maybe it's like it's not doing anything. It might not be adding anything. So let me just do this the dirty way then, which is using style. And I can say something like width, if it exists, then do this. Otherwise, do this. And then I could say width something px, and that's going to be width. And now I guess I would expect this to maintain its size, and that worked. I think maybe the dynamic classes. Yeah, I can't. I don't know. Does it not? Yeah, there's no dynamic. I can't do like a dynamic thing here. It's got to be in here. Not that it's got to be in here, but I think it has to be fixed. So for example, let's try this out, which is, let me just get rid of that. And then get here and say something like this. Yeah, I'm not like something like this. Let's make that 75px all the time. So here, so all these buttons are now 75px. So that is working, right? But if I was to make this based on some width value, I believe this would not work anymore. I mean, the style would, like the class would be applied, but Tailwind's not picking that up, maybe. Okay, now it wants to work? What? Are these two not exactly the same thing? Now it's working. So then this should work. And what did I do? Did I not refresh? What was it? Okay, so now it seems to work. Maybe I had to refresh the browser. Maybe it was the dynamicness of the... let's test this out with a different value. So submit this thing. Right, and I save here and it's not. So it might have been that initial problem of the hot reload not working properly. Or not. Or not. Ugh. I'm not gonna get... Well, let's see. Let's see if this one works. Let me refresh. Let me do this. It doesn't. So this doesn't work. Even though that class is being applied, it does not work. Okay, that makes sense. And I think it was probably because... I think again, undo my way back to the size. Back to the style. And then I'm good with this. Like, this is functional. and now that whole thing doesn't shift, and that looks pretty nice, if I do say so myself. And I did say so myself. In fact, I was the only one who said it. Okay. Right here, I've just added more things here, which I really don't want. So let me just undo that. And here, I've done this whole thing about the width. And put a watch on his running so that width is being maintained as it changes. And then if there is a width value, I can get rid of these comments. And that's why we review our own code, folks. That's funny. So I don't know how outward loading is working, because it's sometimes like it did work there, but other times it's not working. And this here is me just adding that style and fixing it, which I think is fine. Like, I don't think this is such a big deal. It's so isolated here. It's not a certain pattern. If there was a cleaner way of doing this, I would do it. But I also don't want to spend too much time on determining what that cleaner way is. So really, that's where I net out. I'm actually really happy with that. Like, that's exactly what, like, now out of the box, we have these forms that just work nicely, have a loading state, and are communicating to us. Okay, now I can do a few things. I can either add maybe variants on the button, like have a secondary button and have an outline button. Maybe I can maybe better for me to jump into testing out form data, because I'm super curious about that. I have this button sizes, so I'm just gonna complete that. I'm gonna add one more for like button variants, secondary and outline, maybe link. We'll see where this goes. It really is building form components. I'm slowly kind of adding a card for certain components that I want to build out. Okay, let's take a look at form data. And I guess for this, we can start fairly simple. I might just Google some stuff too, like form data to JSON, to see if there's like just a nice way of doing that. I like to typically like look at something, open up a bunch of these, and then jump from one to another. Maybe I'll start off with a blog post, see what people have suggested. Sending form data directly. Okay, that's interesting. So we can just send form data. Now, form data, well, let's start looking into the shape of form data, and then let's look into here. So, I mean, I know about it, but I want to just cover it here. So here we might start playing around with our form data, and I can have it form data is equal to new form data, and we'll pass it the events target. And because I did some messing about here, I know that this might not be entirely happy, but that's okay for now. Okay, so oh yeah, because this would be event otherwise. And now this is not going to be happy, but it's expecting an HTML form element, which we know it is, so we can just give it that. And then let's output form data. And let's mess about here. And make this a bit larger. And okay, we're getting an empty form data object and has these. This is the shape. I can get rid of these other console.logs in my button. I really should have seen that when I was reviewing. Yeah. make this a bit cleaner, more focused. So does it get all? I know I can do something like, because this thing here is company name, so I should be able to do form data dot company name kind of thing. Okay. Company name. It's empty, so let me do hello here. Will this work, or do I have to generate another? It did not work, so let me generate another one. And then, yeah, like this is not reactive, right? Change it to 2, and now that's hello. That's great. Let me try get all. It wants an argument, so let's take a look there. Form data get all. Okay. We're getting get all here because say something like a multi-select or checkboxes, for example, would have, you could select multiple, and then that value then there'd be multiple of those. I don't think we can do that with text inputs, but let's take a look. Can I do this? And then, like, is it going to be something like I'm not seeing any warnings or anything here. Saying I have 2, but maybe HTML doesn't care. Hello there. Submit that. And let's see where we net out here. Oops. So yeah, I do want this to be company name still, and I want to change this to all. Okay, now I have 2 values in an array. That's nice. If I say get, yeah, of course, temp2 is not allowed. I just get hello, so I just get the first value. Okay, so let's see what else lives on form data. Entries, okay. Temp1 dot entries. That gives us an iterator. We should be able to say from entries and say temp1 dot entries. And we get this, but note that there's 2 values. This is nice, right? So it's converted the entries into an object, but because there's 2 values, not because there's 2 values, but there are 2 values, and one of them is just disappearing, which is no good. So this would be amazing if you could just pop this in and we get form data to JSON straight up. But we cannot do that. Set, I suppose, is setting a value. And has for each append delete dot values. What do you do? Oi. Temp1. Also an iterator. Well, I mean, how's that different from the for each? That's fine. So now that we have an idea of the shape, let's try and take a look at these blog posts. So this is telling us, hey, if you didn't need to manipulate your form data in JavaScript, you can straight up just send it to your endpoint, your URL, your some API out there, and that will automatically give you JSON on the other end because the form data is sent properly. So even if you had multiple company names, you would end up getting an array on the other end. That's what I assume would happen. Actually, we should just be able to test it out. Okay. And it doesn't matter right now that example.com isn't like we don't have to have the endpoint. We could just look at the network tab here to see what it's submitting. So hello there, and let's submit, and let's see what the payload was. And so the payload has both of these. And I think maybe later on as an experiment, we can see by setting up an endpoint. I'm not going to do that now because it'll take a whole bunch of time. But we could see based on having set up an endpoint what it would be. But from this, it's telling us that it's sending it twice. Although maybe the server does override it, and in order to accommodate that, we might do something like company name this, and then the server is better equipped to convert those into arrays. Right? And now there's an indication that they are arrays. Okay. All right. So that's one sort of exploration. What else? Okay, this person's doing exactly what we did. Straight up log it, see what's there. Okay, we got that for each business. Oh, they're now building it out, but they're gonna run into the same problem of the duplicates, which might be this. This will solve for many cases, but not all. Multi-selects. Okay, great. So there's a Stack Overflow answer they recommend. I wonder why they wouldn't just say, okay, here, you know. So this is what the Stack Overflow answer was. But this wouldn't work for us because of the arrays. And there's some solution here. And for those who want support for multi-selects, what are they doing? They are going through each one. Reflect.has. Okay, which is a kind of has own property. And if that's the case, they set it. So they set the value up front, and if it's an array, they go, okay, cool, you're an array. Cool. Otherwise, they say, okay, wait, you're an array. Or will they push it? So, if not is array, then make it an array. I guess the goal here is, I don't know what the goal here is. Okay, if the object doesn't have the key, store it. Otherwise, you know, make it an array if it needs to be, I guess. And this, you could just submit it and let, you know, the server handle it. Okay, let me just think how I would want to tackle it. Okay, we have these entries. And can I just reduce it? I wonder if I could just... Okay, so somebody is using reduce. But this also will not maintain because there isn't an array built up here. So key value. Unless value is an array, but it's not. We saw that already, right? Like we saw that. Yeah. Yeah, I think we... So array from entries. And I did... what did I do here? I did object from entries. In this case, in which, you know, only give us that one. But let's see what happens if we do from, array from. So we end up getting this. And then if you're reducing this just based on key value, you're not going to get the arrays. Does not handle multiple items. Somebody suggesting this. I feel like we should be able to do a reduce. That's nicer. Let's see if we can fix this. And we don't need any of this. And let's see what it doesn't like. Entries does not exist on form data. How so? Is it because maybe the version we're using of these APIs? Oy. Would have really thought form data would have entries, and it does not here. It's got 4 each. Yeah, you know what? I'm not, like, I want to use it, and I want it to be properly typed, so let's just take a look at maybe our TS config. So target is ES next here. Or DOM, which I feel like if it's the latest one, it should just give us the API. I mean, it is there. This will work, I feel like. If I did, you know, JSON, and I logged it, even though we see this error here, this should work. And we only see there. We don't see the other one, which we want. Okay. All right. Yeah, let's just quickly see. TypeScript, form data entries. So this TypeScript version, maybe it's a type doc, node modules, TypeScript, lib.dom. So it's coming from TypeScript. And it might just be my version of TypeScript. So let's give that a go. I feel like that's the latest version of TypeScript. But this isn't, so let's see if I can get a later version. Here. No, okay. No. Now we have like entries, keys, and values here, but we don't know what version it is. It's just TypeScript, plain old TS. Libdom iterable. Do I have to say that? I can't imagine I have to be like dom.iterable here, but weirder things have happened. And obviously, if this doesn't work, I'm just gonna wait a minute, I could do this. There is a dom.iterable, which is probably what I need to do in order to get those types. So that instinct may have been correct. Okay, yeah, got it. Cool. Thank you, internet. All right, so now we still have a problem where we get this hello there. Let me just change this back so it looks better. And then, yep. And then, okay, so first of all, I'm just gonna make this a proper function and have a return value so that I can add code here. And here we'll just check to see if memo key exists. And if it does, we'll turn it into an array. And I think that should be good enough. Hey, if there's multiple instances of a certain key, turn it into an array. So, which is why we have to check if it's already an array. So, if not array dot is array dot dot dot. So we could say something like let existing value equals memo key, right? And if the existing value is an array, then if it's not an array, then let's change it to an array. I don't love it. I don't love it. Hold on. Let me just think this through. I'm going to change existing value to, which no longer makes sense because it's not existing value. But I will just code it and then correct it. I want this to be an array of, existing value, existing value, and value. And then that's what we'll get set here. Okay. And in my else case, which is, hey, it's already an array, which means I want to just add value along the thing. And now I could probably just turn this into a ternary operator. And nothing is typed, so all of this is a mess. Here I could probably say this is a record of string and string or string array. And somebody's unhappy, you know? I thought restarting would help. Did not expect to type annotation here. I have to say as, that colon doesn't do anything. Sorry, it's just funny because you're just coding and you have all these expectations. Form data entry value. And so, for our purposes, I don't know. This is string. This is form data entry value, which really, what are you? Form data entry value. Like, what is it? It doesn't want to take me to the source right now. No. It doesn't want to take me to source. That's fine. For now, I'll just string these, and then we'll see how we can remove the duplication. So let's see, first try. And I'm getting it undefined, but otherwise this is almost what I expect, right? Minus the undefined. So I'm curious at what point that undefined is being added. So let's log it out. You know, it's I mean, I guess I could use a debugger for this, but I mean, okay. It's not an array. Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense. It's not an array because it doesn't exist. So I guess I have to say if like if there is an existing value. No. Okay. There's gotta be an else here. If existing value is value. Now that existing value variable like totally doesn't make sense, but I mean it never did. And this is not liked because yeah, so string. Now we get what we want, but we kind of have this it doesn't look great, right? And the variables and everything, they're not fantastic. So let me see what I can do there. Well, memo key is going to be value. So memo key is what's already there, right? So, which is correct. That's the existing value. If there's an existing value, check if it's an array. Otherwise, do this. If there's no existing value, then straight up set it as the value. So we could simplify this maybe by saying this or value. We don't need this else. Right? And then we can perhaps begin to simplify this by saying existing value is equal to this, and we'll have kind of two sides to this. I mean, I guess, you know, you'd be like, okay, what's the difference between, you know, this and like, isn't it all the same? So if a value exists, I know I want to make it an array. So we'll do something like this, array, which I believe works, which is, let's see if it does. And that's if your value is not an array, I guess it doesn't work. Really not what I thought it would do. Let's see. JS turn a value into an array if not already. Ruby did a nice thing like this, but this is nice syntax. Yeah, that's what I expect. And this, if this was an array, cool. Cool. Perfect. Exactly what we want. Okay, let's take a look to see if we can get this in here. So, like, I don't know if concat doesn't exist, you know, like a heavy operation or not, or whatever, but let's see. So I want to concat existing value and value. That still doesn't like it. Why not? Overload items concat. Give the following error. I'm gonna ignore the error for now and just see if it works as one might expect. And then, because like there's no point of me going about to figure out the whole thing and it doesn't work. It works, so let's figure out the whole thing. Right, so this is value is, do I have to, I mean, the error is here, but I know that I had to stringify every single time. And does it feel like, oh, does it not like that I'm concating a, that's, you know, like you want to use some simple code and it says, hey, so this is going to be a string. So when you looked at the error before, it was like, hey, it's an array of never, which this is in TypeScript, right? This is an array of never. And you look at that, or you look at the error and it says, okay, well, we can't concat to an array of never. So a string array it is. And even now, somebody's unhappy because existing value is string or string array. And it's still string or string array. And yep. And this should be a string. And now everyone is happy. I would have loved it if there was a way to retype these, like, you know, I'm sorry, like string, and then, you know, not have to, maybe there is. Okay, so then I should be able to do this and not have to retype it every time. And no, somebody's unhappy, right? Like, it's just, it's okay. It's not what we want. For a second, I thought that was possible, but it is not. So we'll just live with this. Like, I'm not thrilled about it. Um, we might be able to do something like this. I mean, so if the value exists, do this. Otherwise, use value, and this can go away. And this can go away because I can just use memo key straight up here. And then this could just be new value. I mean, is this legible? Nobody knows. Memo key. Right? I mean, ugh. It's, you can't win, you know? Just can't win. But now we get this nice thing happening here. And we have form data. I'm not thrilled about it, to be earnest, and I'm looking forward to using vvalidate now that we've messed about with form data a little bit. And it might be good enough because this won't be good enough, right? For the complexity of the forms that I'm thinking about, this probably won't be good enough. And it's better explained once we get into vvalidate. So I'll bring this down here maybe. When we play around with vvalidate, we get into some complex forms, extract like these complex objects out of that form, and then see if we can do something similar with form data, because this is super simple. This is like one layer, straightforward if we had like arrays of arrays or whatever, which sometimes we do need to do in forms. Then it gets a lot harder. So I'm happy with sort of what I've learned about form data. I'm happy that we've started getting some button components. Maybe next time we can add, just to warm ourselves up, we'll add variants, and then we'll dig into vvalidate and really get into the crux of dynamic forms in Vue, hooking up our own random form into vvalidate and seeing how those connect, and doing actual validation straight up, right? Using yup. So let's see if we can get into that. Let me add that here. Use yup for validation. And this will probably pump us into creating a input layout. And yeah, once we do that, we'll really be on our way to having a proper form library. And then I'm hoping to turn this into a component library that I can use on many projects that I might have. And then because we use primary instead of specific colors, those classes can be overridden potentially in other in the inheriting projects, and now we have this sort of flexible system. Cool. All right, so next time we're going to play around with vvalidate and take it from there. Good night.